Admit it, we've all experienced it. A sound that stops you dead in your tracks. An unexplained movement out of the corner of your eye. The unshakable feeling of being watched. Or maybe it was something more. Maybe it's a story that would have even the most seasoned paranormal investigator shook. This is our new series, Dead Time Stories. Your true life tales of the paranormal. These people were brave enough to talk about it. Are you brave enough to listen? Our first story this week comes from Holly LIndblom from Muhlenberg County, Kentucky, and she has a spooky Civil War era ghost story.
Hi, I'm Holly from Holly's Haunts, and this is my ghost story. So about 3.5, 4 years ago, I had moved to Muhlenberg County, Kentucky, where I was living in this exact same spot. And my view out my door was this field right here. It was July, it was hot, you could hear the cicadas out here. I was sitting out here having a beer, and all of a sudden what I seen through, it was like a mist, a fog, you could almost say, was a Civil War soldier that had started walking from right here. And he walked very slowly through this field. I could see his bayonet, I could see his buttons, I could see his hat. He dissipated right into that white building right over there. I was so shocked at the time that I came flying inside. And I told my boyfriend at the time, I had just seen a ghost. I know what I seen. Well, you know, it was very hush-hush, don't scare the kids type of thing. And we left it at that. So what had happened was, you know, it was on my mind, don't get me wrong. I was all spooked out sitting out here at night, but also waiting for it. Now, one night I was inside and my boyfriend's son got up and was like, whoa, I don't know what I just seen. And we were, you know, we asked him, what did you see? And he seen exactly what I seen to the T, as far as the bayonet, the buttons, the hat, and where he had walked the exact same path into that white building. And that's my Kentucky ghost story, and that's the first time I ever seen a full body apparition. Thanks for listening.
Wow, Holly, full body apparitions are definitely a rare sighting. It can be frightening, but it is also so exciting. Our next story is a spooky Ouija board story from Erin, Peile in Australia.
Hi, my name is Erin. I live in Australia. Since I was 12, my sister and I started playing with Ouija boards, and it got quite strong, and we worked out we didn't even need Ouija boards. We could just put our hands on anything, and it also became that we would use pens and do automatic writing. And we would also be able to pick up quite quickly if the energy was good or bad. You know, if it was my grandmother, we could smell roses and we got some good answers. If it was an evil energy, it was always very violent and jerky movements. One particular time we used a matchbox, took out the insert and put our finger inside each, and it was moving all around. And we worked out pretty quick it was an evil energy because it was so violent. It was even hitting the dog and hitting the wall. And so we put the matchbox down and walked away. I was a smoker at the time, so I picked up the matchbox, went outside, lit the cigarette, and the entire thing went up in flames. When I looked inside, the matches were all completely burnt out, except for the one that I'd struck. So obviously there was a lot of energy used in that particular instance. I hope this was interesting. Thanks, and love the show.
Erin, thank you for sharing your story. I guess this is a serious lesson on why you shouldn't smoke and ghost at the same time. Our last few stories today come from Choi from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His whole family experienced activity in their old Los Angeles home.
I've lived in multiple haunted houses, beginning with the first house I lived in Seoul, South Korea. So this was like when I was 1-2 years old. But the story I want to tell is about a house my family lived in, rented in near Griffith Park. north of Los Feliz on Commonwealth. This was like late 90s. The interesting thing about this house was that everybody in my family experienced it. People coming over experienced it, but we all experienced it sort of in different ways. When we moved into that house, we ended up getting 2 Chow Chow puppies. And we kept them in the backyard. And then every night, the 2 puppies would be barking, always at the same spot in the backyard, like sort of staring at the same spot. In Korea, we say that dogs could see ghosts, they could see spirits. So my parents were curious as to why the dogs were barking, what was going on. The interesting thing is my mom actually started having dreams that from that same spot that the dogs were barking at. My mom started dreaming that an old white woman was driving out from underground on that same spot in a old Cadillac, and she would drive up from like underground, like she was coming out of a grave or something. As for my dad, he had a different experience. But before we hear about him, so the guests we had over, like whether it's relatives or just friends over, they would always be afraid to use the bathroom in our house. The main bathroom was off the living room, past the kitchen to the hallway, and then like across the hall from my parents' bedroom, right? And my uncle one day said how he was afraid to use the bathroom because whenever he went there, it felt like there was someone there. And actually, for anybody, whenever you went there, it felt like 10 degrees colder. Like you could feel shivers. A lot of mornings you could see like the steam went up your mouth. So my dad one night like wakes us all up screaming, right? So we wake up and go, what happened? And he says that he got up to go to the bathroom, and in the dark in the hallway, he like ran into a figure, like a shadowy figure. And that's when he screamed, and this figure like took off, like disappeared. As for me, what would happen is whenever I was in my room, I would just hear laughter, like groups of people laughing, like there was a party going on. And they would just laugh and laugh and laugh. And it just got so tiring. One night, I got into bed to go to sleep. I was laying on my left side, facing my dresser. And when I opened my eyes, there was a guy squatting on top of the dresser with a screwdriver, just like carving a hole into the top of the dresser with the screwdriver. And I was just so tired of it all, and I just kept staring at him. He was staring at me, and I just rolled over on the other side so I didn't have to look at him, you know. And the thing is, we eventually got evicted from that house because the landlord saw the puppies in my room, and she didn't allow dogs inside the house. So my parents were actually like grateful. They felt like the dogs saved us from that house by getting us kicked out. You know, it was a crazy time because my dad got sick in that house. My brother got sick in that house. I got into a whole bunch of craziness while I lived in that house. In fact, like one of the last things I remember from that house is coming home real late one night, like 3 a.m, parking the car outside, and then ready to go in the house, and I see a coyote just sitting at the front door, like it's been waiting for me. We just stared at each other for a while, for a couple of minutes. And then the coyote got up and we just walked down the hill. And sort of that was like, and then pretty soon after that, we moved out of that house. So that was, I think, my third haunted house that I lived in. Yeah, and I've been in a couple of more houses after that, at least, where we've experienced presence, ghost spirits walking around. So it's been an interesting time.
Chiwan, you've lived in multiple haunted houses? Wow, you really know how to pick them. Remind me not to go house hunting with you. I hope you guys enjoyed these dead time stories. Do you have a ghost experience that you'd like to share? I'd love to hear it. Record your haunted story on your phone and send it to GhostMagnetTV@gmail.com and make sure to include your name and city and state. Look forward to hearing it. Hey guys, if you're a fan of Ghost Magnet, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast and like our Facebook page so you can stay informed on the latest Ghost Magnet news. We've got lots of spooky new content coming your way that you won't want to miss. Subscribe and stay tuned.